Good evening everybody, welcome back to another video today. Another disappointing game in the end. We did lose 2-0 away at Crystal Palace this afternoon. And unfortunately, it's basically near enough, basically spells the end for us, hasn't it? I think we are going to go down now. It has been near enough all but confirmed. And of course, there's still plenty of time to get out of it, but it looks like we are going to go down. Another poor performance, really, after such a promising game midweek. We go and follow it up with basically another terrible performance, and it's just, where do we go from here? I mean, there's a lot of angry fans on social media really airing their opinions, and it's not nice to see, obviously, after the fantastic year we had last year, and even the great season we had to go alongside it, for it all to come crumbling down now. It's disappointing. A lot of things you can really look at today, and you can't really be happy with. I think the team selection today, I think a lot of people looked at that again. We went with a 5 at the back formation, which I just don't think it really works for us. As much as I love Claudio Ranieri, I think he's as much as I want to like him, I think when you're persistently going with something that doesn't work, you're gonna get criticised for it, and it doesn't work. I don't think the 5 at the back suits us. I think it's just too dull. I think, especially when we're trying to get important results to try and keep us in the league. I think we played much better on Tuesday night when we made the change. We brought Tom Kearney on, we went to a back 4, and I think that really suited us better. And we didn't use that again today, and it was frustrating to see. I thought really that second half last week was going to hopefully be a turning point to our season. It hasn't been, and Ranieri went with the system that he's used for a while now, and it just didn't work. It looked sluggish. It's just too defensive. When you're going with what, 5 or 6 defensive-minded players on the pitch, you're not going to get the service you need out wide. And even Mitrovic again today was a spectator. He wasn't even really involved again, and it's got to be frustrating for him really, because he needs crosses, he needs service to be fully utilised, and we're not seeing that at all. Obviously, and again, more people frustrated with the 2 new signings not being involved. I don't think you can really question that. Markovic, really, if I'm being brutally honest, hasn't played a lot of first-team football in the past couple of seasons, really, apart from maybe a loan spell at Hull. I don't know where he was last year, but he hasn't had too much football this year, so he's probably not match fit, as fit as he'd probably like to be, so I can see why he wasn't involved. I don't know why Nordwijk wasn't. He's played a bit of football this year for Hoffenheim, so I don't know why he wasn't involved today, which is a strange one. A lot of people, again, frustrated with the transfer business that, it wasn't good enough. And Christie gave away a penalty today. I saw on social media that Ranieri called him a stupid fool, which I hope that's misinterpreted for a silly foul or something. But to call a player a fool, I just don't think that's good. I think really in this situation, he's got to keep them type of the things to himself. I completely understand his frustration. I completely understand that 100%. But he did the same type of thing with Kamara when he said he wanted to kill him, and I think these type of things have just got to be kept quiet, because if you're going to the media after a game, I know that things can be said in the heat in the moment, but especially as a manager, you've just got to learn to try and control your emotions. I know it can be hard, but to be saying them type of things, they ain't going to go down well with players, especially in the 21st in modern day football, where the whole Sergeant Major approach doesn't really go down well with players anymore. I think he's just got to be a bit more conservative with players and be a bit more calmer instead of looking to try and publicly throw them under the bus, which I don't think will go down well, especially with the situation we're in. But just the way it goes. Again, going back to the whole point, Tony Khan, again, his name is coming up on Twitter again as the main catalyst to blame in this whole scenario. I can completely understand that as well. He can be, in my opinion, I think he is to blame. I think there's a lot of things that have gone wrong this season, and particularly really with him involved, it seems to be a growing trend. But what he seems to be involved with, it seems to be going wrong at the moment. And it all goes back to that point at Burnley where after the game, come out on Twitter, and he really did give it the big I am, promising multiple signings, promising us this, that, and other, that we're going to keep going, never surrender, and all this. It was a very motivational piece of a very motivational tweet from him, and it really did give a lot of people confidence. But then there's a few people who are basically thinking, just be careful here, this might not happen. It didn't happen, obviously. The 2, or so-called multiple signings were 2 players who, if I'm being brutally honest, were slightly underwhelming. Lazar Markovic, a Liverpool cast-off who cost him £20 million. I remember him playing against us in the FA Cup for Hull a couple of years ago, and he was awful. And he was signed basically on a recommendation from Alexander Mitrovic, and it's almost as if we're like a Sunday League team where you get players turn up and go, well, my mate wants to come down, he's a decent player, he can play there, and the bloke turns up with a pot belly after several pints and a curry the night before. So it's that type of signing. Obviously, Harvard Nordwijk I'm okay with. I think he's a player who could, although there's talk of him not actually being a centre-half, which is just absolutely comical, and it's just typical us. We sign a player who to playing centre half, who's got actually more of a midfielder. So it's more frustration, and obviously the whole Sabali problem come up again, didn't it, on deadline day, with Bordeaux basically sticking two fingers up at us because we pissed about for the whole of January and didn't get the deal done early enough. So it is frustrating, obviously. And I do think Tony Khan wants to step aside. I think there comes a point now where he has to really look at his mistakes and think, what can I do now to maybe help this football club? And I think the only way forward for this football club to progress is with him stepping aside. I think we need some sort of experience in terms of director of football. As I said before, director of football is that hub between manager and hierarchy, and you need somebody who's experienced who can really provide a bit of a buffer between the two. And Tony Khan, in my opinion, doesn't do that. I think he's too focused on other projects he's got. And we need somebody who's going to be around the club full-time, whose main focus is on Fulham, and not somebody who's got primary focus on some sort of wrestling company, the Jacksonville Jags, then Fulham. There's got to be somebody who's going to be around the club 24/7, who's going to be based in London as well, or based in the UK at least, who's focused on delivering on the football side of things for the football club, and also working in a close role with the first team coach, whoever that may be next season, because I don't think it's going to be Ranieri next year. I know he's got a 2-year deal, but I'd be very surprised if he's here this time next year. There's been talk of Scott Parker taking the job, but I think if we're going to give Scott Parker the job, then we've really got to look at it and think it's going to be another Kit Simons type of thing. I know there's been ex-players who've gone into management this year and done well, like Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard. Sol Campbell wasn't done too bad at Macclesfield either. But the last time we gave an ex-player of ours a managerial job, look how poor it was and look how bad it ended for Kit Simons. I know he kept us up, I know short-term it was the right thing, but then going back to that whole long-term project, it just didn't work. He got given a summer to really bring his own players in, it didn't work. He brought in a number of poor players, from him being brutally honest, and it didn't work. And I think if we're going to go down the whole Scott Parker route, it will just completely signify that we don't know what we're doing. There's people talking about bringing Slavisa back, same thing again. If we were to bring him back, what would that mean? It'll just look stupid. A manager who he sacked before because the results were poor with him to also start the season, the identity we had under him disappeared. If we're going to bring him back just for the fact, oh yeah, he got us up, that's going to look stupid, isn't it? Bringing somebody back who he sacked, it just makes us look absolutely ridiculous. There's going to be a complete and utter new change, I think, just the whole style of the football club. The day-to-day running, there's going to be a complete and utter overhaul. I know it's going to be frustrating because it's going to be another rebuilding process. It's going to be our second. It seems like every year now we're rebuilding. It's been a constant turnover of players every summer. It seems to be more than 10 players coming in every summer now. For the past couple of seasons now, it's been constant turnover of players, and a club can't progress like that. There's got to be a point where clubs need to have some sort of stability and longevity, and when you're constantly chopping and changing things on and off the pitch, you're not going to get that. But I do believe that this is now the wake-up call. The Khans have had one relegation, which does look quite, you can probably put, it might be a bit harsh, but then a second relegation in the second season of the Premier League when they've been there suggests it's a poor lack of running of the club, and there's something wrong. And there is something wrong. I don't like saying it, but something's going to have to change, because at the moment, what we're working with at the moment isn't working. Whether it's something that's at the club isn't working, and there's going to have to be a change. It's going to be something's going to have to be looked at, and something's going to have to be changed sooner rather than later, because if we don't change this problem, this club will deteriorate, and this club can be a very toxic place at times. We've seen it before when we've been down in the Championship. We almost went to League One a couple of years ago. It wasn't nice. We don't want to be down there again, so something's going to have to change sooner rather than later for the long-term future of this football club, because with the new stand coming in May, or whenever it's starting to be built, there's things put in place that show there's a long-term ambition, but regardless of the footballing matters of things, there's going to be something done to really give the fans a clear idea of what's going on. Because if we do go down, there's going to be a clear structure and a clear strategy as to how we potentially try to build to try and get back to the Premier League. There's going to be a clear plan put in place of where we want to be each year. If we go down next year, I don't think we'll challenge the first year. I think it'll be a stability year, all about adapting to life back in the Championship. We'll probably have a bit more of a better idea of it because we've been there for the past 4 years. We'll have an idea of how ruthless it is, so hopefully it might give us a little bit of an advantage, but I wouldn't expect us to pull up too many trees next year. We maybe might have to get a new manager and give him a whole year to rebuild before we maybe in the second season look to try and mount a serious promotion challenge, because it's going to take time to rebuild this whole club if we go down. There's so much wrong with it at the moment, and I do believe, looking at the way things are running at the moment, there's a problem. And I keep saying there's a big problem at the moment. It's worrying. Tony Khan gets a lot of the flack, which is you can see why he gets his fair share of the abuse. I can understand that. He promised us multiple times, he hasn't delivered, and there's so many things wrong at the moment. But for the past year, it's just been a complete write-off. For the past this season's just been completely wrong. We've been so underprepared by it. We've not learned from our previous mistakes. And I could go on for another half an hour about this and bang on till I'm blue in the face, but I'm not going to. But I just don't understand really. It's so confusing. It's worrying. It's just annoying me really. This football club. I don't know where we go from here. It's so frustrating really. I'd love to have an answer, but I just don't know. I really don't know. It's worrying times now because we are in the shit and we are probably going to go down. It's frustrating because Tuesday night I already thought we turned the corner. It's just this growing trend in our season, which I tweeted out earlier on. We get a big win and we just do not build on it. This game would have been perfect to go and give us that extra bit of momentum, to kick on and really think, yeah, we can do this. But we go back into our shell again. We don't turn up. We play poor. We get beaten 2-0 comprehensively because we're not good enough. And I know Cyrus Christie got his fair share of stick today for his handball, didn't he? And it goes back to the whole point really. We knew where we needed to we knew where we needed to strengthen this window. Every fan knew we didn't do it. And this is the repercussion for it. We've not strengthened in any area where we need to, and we're gonna suffer because of it. And it's disappointing. We've got Man United at home next weekend. I'm not expecting much from that either. I think we'll probably lose there as well. But as I said, things had to change at Fulham Football Club quickly. Otherwise, this club will slowly drift down apart, drift down the water or wherever, and it'll just drift away back into mediocrity and back where we once were. So if you did enjoy this, guys, hit that thumbs up. Comment anything you want to talk about regarding the club, your opinions. I'd like to hear all of that. And yeah. See you soon.